behind me!
What if we can't make it out before the freeze?
We don't run from our troubles.
You heard it, right?
We don't get a lot of people out here.
Advice when dealing with Lori?
Advice, when was your last relationship? The 90s?
Wow, you look great. Does anyone sit here?
Not you.
It didn't feel like lockdown. It didn't feel like jail. It felt like something else.
162717. Looks like our number finally got called. They're desperate for hand crews, and we're it.
It's gonna be crazy. Hopefully, I'm hoping for it to be crazy.
Wait down here, and wait till you guys pass and we'll shoot up.
The heat is like overwhelming, and I couldn't breathe.
It feels like if we could do this, we could do any job out there.
You're always gonna remember this, not as being locked up, but as being a firefighter.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts, based here in Seattle, Washington. Thank you so much for joining me on this 25th of September, 2021. And this is the fourth round of the new Fun Table sessions. For those that are new to this concept, this is where I bring back guests that I've previously interviewed and they have not met each other before. So we're going to come together in a few minutes here and just kind of shoot the breeze about random topics. Sometimes we get kind of silly. Sometimes it might be a little bit more, pensive, or something that you're actually kind of, make you kind of think about things for a bit. And we just kind of go with it. So everyone that I've done, which has been 19 last year, and I did 5 to start off 2021. And I took a little bit of a break and kind of reconfigured how these work because things were opening up back up outside in the society and the arts world and everything. So I wanted to make sure that I was not just pigeonholing myself into like doing a Friday night or a Saturday night. I mean, that's kind of nice when we can do that, but it's just really hard to get people's schedules together. But I love doing these. So instead of doing them once a week, I try to do them once a month. If I can do 2 a month, that would be great. But again, it's just a scheduling thing. And so far, so good. Again, all of them have had a unique flavor, and I love hearing from the guests. Also in kind of my interviews are very conversational anyway, but I do like it when I can kind of be a fly on the wall a bit and just kind of hear what people's thoughts are about random things. And obviously they'll be having a chance to talk about what they've been working on. So it's always a nice showcase to be able to kind of promote what you're about. If you're watching this and you would like to ask my guest a question, you can throw it into the chat on YouTube or Twitch. And all you have to need to do is subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow me on Twitch, which I greatly appreciate. All of the information for my social media and for my guests, some of their links are right down in the YouTube description. So if you want to check out their work later, if you want to watch one of the films, if you want to listen to some of the music, then that's what you can do. If you're really just impressed by everything, I love tips and donations through PayPal. That link is always there, the hyperlink. You click on it, you can donate anything from $1 on up. And I've been really, really fortunate that here in September, quite honestly, there's been quite a few tips and donations that have come in, and I'm greatly appreciative of Steve and Jay that made sizable donations. Things were a little bit drier during the summertime, but those guys really stepped up. And I greatly appreciate anyone that thinks that I deserve any kind of tip or donation for what I do. If you'd like to know more about what I'm up to, you can always follow me at Eclectic Arts Media, one word, on Instagram. That's where I post everything first. And then some of that information migrates over to other social media platforms. I had a TikTok for like all of 2 seconds, and then I got rid of it. And now I have another one. I realize it's such a powerful platform that it's something I need to kind of invest some time into. So I don't know what kind of videos are going to show up or what I'm going to put on there. I have one, but it's just a live clip from 3 years ago. So eventually I'll start adding that to my list of social media things. And yeah, so it's a great Saturday here in Seattle. It's beautiful outside. I mean, it's just like there's not a cloud in the sky. It's supposed to hit about 77, 78 degrees. So it's probably kind of like even though it's officially fall here, it's like the last hurrah of summer. And my guests are all over the place. We have someone from Canada, someone from over in New York in the United States, and we have someone in South America, in Chile. And so I'm going to bring my guests in one at a time, and we'll go from there and see where this new Fun Table session takes us. And let's see here. Oh, and I completely forgot. This is terrible. I forgot. Coming up, my next live stream, again, for people that haven't been seeing anything recently, I have a new Muggle job that's from 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. So my live streams are in the evenings or they're on the weekends. And so the next one is going to be scheduled for Thursday, the 30th of September, and that's at 7 p.m. And I have Adrian Cicerone, who's the director of Steel Song, and he also has a professional ballet background, which I found out by doing some research. So he's going to be joining me, and I do have potentially a return guest from the first chapter of the Alice virtual tour coming on Wednesday, but we have to firm that up right after this weekend. I would love to have this guest back, as she came on twice during the Alice virtual tour last year, which got me started in all this virtual world of interviews and everything else. And I was telling my guests earlier before we went live that I'm very excited that it looks like I have at least 2 to maybe 6 different live events in person that I'll be covering as what I was doing before the pandemic. I've been purposely being real particular about what I go back to and when I go back to it. That was something I told myself during the pandemic, that I was going to make some changes. I wasn't just going to try to do 20 events in a month or just do something because that's something to do. It was like, no, I'm going to be real particular. And also out of safety and precaution, I want to make sure that I'm not overstepping my bounds with, potentially bringing COVID to myself or to anyone else that I know or someone that I don't know. So anyway, that will also start impacting my schedule because those will be in the evenings. For instance, I believe it's next Friday and next Saturday night. And then I know the opera is going to be in October on a Saturday night, and the P&B just came back to the stage last night, but I chose not to be a part of that until I have more time on my hands because I'm finishing up a virtual film festival right now. But anyway, enough from me. Let's talk about my guests, and let's bring my guests in. Let's go with the interview that was the furthest back, which was back in, is that right? Back in May of 2021. She is a fantastic singer and musician. She also works as an attorney when she's not doing her music, and she's down in Chile joining us at about 3:09 in the afternoon, I believe. So I'm going to bring in Caterina Nix first. Dun, dun, dun. If I can do this right. Oh, come on, Mark. What's wrong with this thing? Maybe it's user error. Hey.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good, Caterina. How are you?
All is good here. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, it's great seeing you again. I'm so glad we got a chance to get the schedules aligned and everything worked out, that you can be here and be here a part of the fun table session. And I'm really looking forward to hearing from you about everything, really.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was kind of hard to finally get to this point, right? We have to schedule it three different times.
Yeah, I know, and I totally understand. And again, it's time zones, it's schedules. People are working on things. They got small windows of time of when they can do something, and that doesn't jive with other people's schedule. Yeah, that's what the reality is right now for me. So
we're in the middle of finishing our 3rd album for Chaos Magic, so we're on the final step of that. But now I have a little bit more time to do these things.
Awesome. So I can't wait to hear more about the album and everything else. So let's bring in, let's see, the next guest would be, this was also at the end of spring. This was before this was back in June when I did a one-on-one interview with this guest, and we were promoting the I want to say it was the Blu-ray release of her film Hunter x Hunter. And so you can go out and buy it now. You can watch it digitally, of course, on your favorite platforms. And so she's joining us from Canada. I'm going to bring in Camille Sullivan. If I can do this, let's try doing the buttons, Mark. There we go. Hi, Camille.
Hi.
How are you? Yeah, thank you for joining me so much. I really appreciate you coming back on and in this format.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm looking forward to it. We had to schedule it. It's tough to schedule, but I'm glad we got here.
Yeah, no, same like what Caterina was saying. It's the same thing. People are busy. They're working on projects. I know you're on location filming things, so I can't wait to hear updates from yourself. And it's just like at some point, the stars will align and we'll get people together. Yeah. And that day was today. So no, I'm really glad you're here.
Great. Yeah, me too.
Okay, and then our third, but definitely not least guest was back in July when I did a one-on-one interview with, well, I guess it's not one-on-one, but one-on-two, because it was her and her co-director of a really great documentary called Fireboys that was in part of my video. If you saw part of the trailer. And so we're going to hear more from her about her film background. And I saw a lot of stuff that has to do with food in some of her demo reel things. So let's bring in Drew Dickler. And let's see if I can do this right. Come on. Oh, I just muted you, didn't I?
Hey, Mark.
Hi, Drew. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Yeah, good seeing you. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'm on a different device here, so that's why that's my excuse. So when I press the buttons, I'm like, is that the right thing? But no, I'm so glad that you could join us. And yeah, all three of you, welcome to the new Fun Table Sessions, round 4 on September of 2021.
Excellent.
Yeah, so maybe that's kind of the easiest thing is that what have you been up to since I last heard from you? So maybe we can kind of round robin it around, or whichever way this is going. So so maybe we'll start with Caterina, and then we'll kind of go down to Camille and go over to Drew. So what have you been working on? What can you let us all know that you have in the works and what's coming out?
Well, as I was telling you, we're finishing our 3rd Chaos Magic album, and I've been working on a few other things with Somberwind too, which is the other band I participate in, but I'm not a writer there, so I just sing there. But I'm a part of it anyway, and I'm very proud of it because it's very gothy, and it's the softer side of what I can provide to the music or to a band. So I have these two opposite styles that still are kind of similar, and they allow me to express myself in different ways. So Chaos Magic, Somberwind, and being a mom during the pandemic, still working as an attorney. I don't go to court. I work for an insurance company, and that's been pretty hard too. But little by little, we are getting a little bit more freedom. And I really hope that they can bring back soon live shows, because I really, really want to play.
Yeah, well, that's great that the 3rd album from Chaos Magic is getting ready to come out. And I also know that you had some vocals on Timo Tolkki's Avalon project, I believe, right? The last one he just put out?
Yeah, but that was recorded a very, very long time ago. As you know, sometimes they schedule the release of the albums for, I don't know, a year and a half before. So the recording was, I think, before the pandemic hit us hard. But yeah, it was released on June, I think.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I had a chance to talk to Timo virtually, of course, about that release. Cool. All right, and so we'll drop down to sorry, this Camille over here.
Okay. So yeah, sorry, I'm getting a frog in my throat. So I just finished a movie called Harlan Manor for Tubi. It's a horror movie, and it's going to be out on Halloween. And it's fun. It's going to be good. It kind of I don't know how much I should tell you about it, but it's fun, and I got to do a lot of fun shit in it. And also what else have I done? I did a movie for Netflix that will be out next year. A sweet, kind of a different thing for me, because it's like a sweet kind of story about a dog based on a true story. It's called Rescued by Ruby, and it's based on the true story of this dog who becomes a rescue dog, and it's very sweet. It's very touching. We'll definitely cry. And then I also just spoke with the director of Kingsway, Bruce Sweeney. We met yesterday, and we're going to do another movie kind of with the same core group of cast that he's writing right now, and we hope to shoot that early next year. So that would be good. Oh, and then I'm doing another movie too, another horror, but I don't know how much I can tell you about it. But that's coming up this fall, and that's going to be, I think, an independent release, so I'm not sure when that'll be out.
Wow, so you've been busy.
It sounds like it when I say it, but actually not that busy. Katarina sounds a lot busier than me, to be honest.
Okay, yeah, I'm really intrigued now that some of the same cast is coming back from Kingsway to do this new project, because that film, like I mentioned to you, I think offline, I had a chance to see it and review it, and I really liked it. I remember I had to put a question in my review about I didn't quite understand why the director did that film in a nice way, meaning that it just drops you into it. It doesn't really have, necessarily a beginning or an end. There's no arc to it. It just kind of is like this. But it's very well done.
Yeah, it's great. His movies are super fun, and the characters are really rich and really funny. And I think, I mean, I can't speak for him, but I think he just sort of wants to it's just an exploration of the character dynamics and of relationships more than the story itself as much. You know what I mean?
And that would make sense, because there's definitely a lot of characterization going on and a lot of development within those characters and that kind of thing. So, and for people out there, if you're watching this right now, you can check out Kingsway as well online. So a lot of these things are already out and available. So this will be like your precursor trailer to all these things of music and film, and that's really cool. And we'll move over to Drew.
Yeah. Well, first I want to give a shout out to Caterina's cat because they're very cute, and I was happy to see them.
I'm sorry. Well, those things happen when you have cats. They don't give a shit.
More. I always love seeing people's pets on Zoom. I feel like that's one of the best parts of remote work life is you get those little moments. But no, I mean, I think the big thing for me, you mentioned it, Mark, is that we've just been rolling out my first feature, Fireboys, that I co-directed with Jake Cockadonor. And Fireboys is a documentary about incarcerated youth in California who become wildland firefighters through a program there. And we followed the program for 5 years, and the film came out in early August. Mark, you're one of the first people to have us on, so thanks so much for that. And it's been really exciting. We've been doing the kind of VOD tour. We've done our festival tour launched 2 weeks ago. We did a world premiere at Dances with Films in LA. We kind of got our festival dates throughout the fall. So I've been really focused on pushing that and also kind of building out our impact campaign. We really want the film to be partnering with various organizations. So doing that, and then I'm producing a new documentary called What Will I Become, which is in its early stages. It's a really interesting, really important story around trans masculinity and mental health. And I'm working with 2 wonderful directors on that. And then my day job is basically a small production company that I co-run called Deep Dive Films. And we do, like you mentioned, lots of fun food content. Food porn is my first love, so I'd love to talk more about that in terms of my video career. And we do that and other corporate work to pay the rent. So yeah, that's me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and again, like I mentioned, I think there's stuff with Bobby Flay, and there's some other food stuff that I saw, and it's like, wow, that looks tremendous. And that's my fault that I had not done that kind of deep dive into more of your work before we did the interview back in July with Jake. But it's like I need to find out more about this.
For sure. Yeah, no, my first job was back at eater.com right out of college, and so starting from there, I just shot tons of food video, and it's built a lot. So yeah. Love to talk more about that.
Okay, cool. And hi, Queen. Good to see you. And I see you're saying Caterina's Cat is my new weekend band. And Industrial Girl, good to see you. She's joining us from East Los Angeles. Yeah, this is a very early fun table session. As I was mentioning during the introduction, schedules are what they are nowadays. So I got to just say whenever people can get together, and if I'm okay with doing it, then that's when we do it. Then within reason. I'm not going to get up too early. I'm not a morning person at all. So. But yeah, it's really good to see you. So Industrial Girl is someone that I met through the Alice virtual tour last year. So again, I always say Alice. I say Alice all the time because had I not had that opportunity, I wouldn't be here right now, most likely doing this with any of you and anything else of the 145 live streams I did this year. So I always want to thank them. And I see Queen saying, I just woke up. Okay. So, gosh. I was thinking about when Caterina's Cat came through and Drew, you mentioned the same thing. It's been kind of fun with Zoom meetings and calls when somebody random comes on or a kid comes in the background. And so my muggle job during the day, I have not been around a bunch of people in an office setting, and I don't have to interact with them. They're not my manager or anything like that, but I'm around all of the different departments, every manager, every director. So they're on Zoom meetings all the time. And so one of them was asking me if I could, just for fun, pretend like I'm going to come over there and clean their camera, this kind of thing, as I walked around in the background. So that's almost become almost like I had to make a list of which person am I going to clean their camera next, because they thought it was funny. And I kept looking, how come some of these people never leave their office? Or don't they ever get together in person for these meetings? no, out of safety, they just said, we'll just stay at our desks and just, do our things that way. So I'll look on the screen and say, well, there's Bob and there's Dave and there's Joan and there's whoever. And like, I just didn't process that that's what they're doing within the same office. I kept thinking they're in different, states or different wherever. I said, well, no, this makes sense too. That again, if they're not going to be in proximity of each other, there's a safety thing that kind of helps out with that.
Yeah, it's sort of the same now when you do like, before you start a movie or something, you generally get together and do like a reading of the script. And now almost all the time that's over Zoom too, which is weird. Like it's helpful because then people can be wherever and you don't have to worry about getting everybody together for that day. But it is kind of weird. I miss the interaction a little bit.
I think this thing has been like an introvert's paradise because what I used to work in an office too, and we had meetings like weekly or every couple of days. And nowadays we're all working from home, and we don't know if that's going to change anytime soon. And for me, I see more pros than cons, especially because I get to be with my kid like 24/7. And, sometimes it's harder because he's screaming in the background or he just wants to say hi. Now he's with my mom, he's hopefully eating chocolate or something, so he doesn't come screaming at me. But I think that's, it's been good. It's been good for me. It's like one of the pros that I've had during the pandemic, like kind of the only one.
It's been interesting in New York because there was definitely like a mass exodus of friends who, moved away because they didn't have to be in New York working.
Drew, I'm not hearing your audio. I don't know if the connection got bad on my end or on your end. Even your screen looks a little pixelated. Let's see. Caterina, Camille, are you seeing the same thing that I'm seeing from Drew's camera?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
okay. Here.
Okay, and I see, oh, hi, Ken. I see Ken saying he can't hear Drew either. Let's see. Okay. Beauties of technology. But then I see, well, Industrial Girl saying I'm going to my first concert since January of 2020 next month. Okay. Yeah, I had to think about that. My last concert was February of 2020. Gosh, yeah, it's been that long. And yeah, I'm sure Drew's trying to work on her connection or different things, so she'll come back in with us. But maybe have them do a restart. Yeah, I think based on what I've seen, and that's why it's like at the office that I'm at, there's people that basically they all work for the city of some type. And let me see, there's something coming through here. And Drew, you're almost frozen to me. Your screen it's definitely pixelated. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. It sounds like the people in the chat can't hear you either right now. So if you can maybe keep monkeying around with that. But yeah, it's basically people at City Hall, and it's been interesting seeing people that are really like they're really particular about what happens COVID wise, and there's other people that are completely like, I'm so over this, I don't care, and I have to be someone that's around everybody at the same time. So it's like, because I'm basically working as like a cleaner during the days what I'm doing, so I'm disinfecting and all that kind of stuff. And so some guys will say, Mark, can you hit my door handle again, please? and then other people are like, you don't even have to touch it, Mark, I don't care. But yeah, I remember, clearly a year ago when it was like, I didn't know what was going to happen with this. And clearly it's going to be up and down. It's not going to be like, this is done and now we move on. We're seeing that right now. We're living in it. But it is nice when I can drive somewhere and have some of my routine back, listening to the sports radio and other random things. I'm actually hesitant to go though. Okay.
Yeah, one of the things that's been good for me is because now auditions are all over Zoom. So it's like I tape it at home and then I send it in. And it's so much nicer than going in and waiting and being terrified and just like being in a room with like, you're all fucking terrified. You know what I mean? It's a really unpleasant experience auditioning. But from home, I tape it, my husband reads with me, and then I send it and I just forget about it. So that's been pretty great.
That's true. I didn't even think about that part, that you don't have the whole, waiting with a bunch of other actors for your turn to go audition and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's so nerve-wracking. Even though it's like the one thing I do miss is I also like the other actresses that I often go for the same parts as. So it was a nice opportunity to see them and kind of chat and like catch up a little bit. But it's like a lot of nervous energy, and then people are staring at you, and I'm sure they are friendly, but they don't look friendly. So, it's scary.
And rehearsals are via Zoom too?
I don't do a lot of rehearsals. We pretty much just do it. So, yeah. Yeah, maybe a little bit like for the last movie, there was no rehearsal. We just went and did it. But it was fun. Like, I don't know if I said the name of it. It's Harlan Manor. Tubi comes out on Halloween. It's really
one, and I'm the one of the dog. Definitely.
Yeah. So how is it where you guys are? Is it like, are things open? Is it normal?
Not normal. Not at all. We're just waiting for, what authorities have to say. We just had like a national holiday where people were just all over the place, out and about. So contagion rates were actually a little bit higher, but it's all going to depend on people's behavior and the contagion levels. So hopefully they're dropping now. And we really hope to have like bigger live shows at least. We still have curfews at 12 at night. That's hopefully going to be changing, but step by step, little by little, we're just happy we're a little bit free, more free than before now. So we just have to wait.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, down here, I mean, in Seattle, it's almost business as usual, which is a little scary to me. I mean, I'm a football fan, so like we just had our first home Seahawks game last Sunday. There was 70,000 people there, and yeah, they had to be vaxxed or have a test, and you're supposed to wear a mask and all that kind of stuff. But they panned around. I mean, there's people aren't wearing masks and they're yelling their heads off. So I mean, they're spitting everywhere, and there's stuff going on, and it's been going on with the Mariner games, the baseball here, and the Sounders. There's just soccer. So it's kind of like, if you have thousands of people doing that, and then supposedly, I haven't heard anything in the news about like some huge outbreak from it, yet alone, oh, there's somebody that just walked behind me. It's gonna become like a little game, like what shows up behind
you? Can you guys hear me? My internet totally went down, so now I'm on a mesh network, so it's a little fun live moment here. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, you're good. That sounds, I can hear and see you great, Drew. So I don't know what to think, because you can go to like a small 50-person music club, and they're going to go through all these protocols with you, and you need to be standing over here. And some of them you can't even stand. You got to be seated at a table, kind of a thing. And then I'll look over here again at an arena with or not even an arena, a stadium with 70,000 people going nuts. So I don't really know what to believe at this point. And then we have the whole thing about the third booster, depending on your age and what you have going on, that's been approved. So, and I actually fit into that category because I have an underlying medical condition, and I'm over 50. So I know it's supposed to be like 65 and up, or like automatically they could get a third one. And then the next group was someone like me. So I think it's like either October or maybe November, I qualify to get a third booster if I decide to do so. But, knock on wood, there is definitely some people that I lost during the pandemic directly due to COVID. And then recently I haven't had that kind of thing happen. So that's good. But it's always in the back of my head of like, I want to live my life. I also don't want to be stupid. So yeah. It's such a weird thing to try to balance that. And I see Ken was saying that he was having a hard time trying to be in a mosh pit with a mask on. Like, yeah, see, can't breathe. It's already hot in those concerts, in those clubs anyway. And so I think a lot of people are kind of wrestling, and depending on what you personally believe of like, I'm going to toe the line with every little thing, or is it kind of like at some point you're just like, fuck it, I'm just going to take this thing off for a little while. I even did that outside, and somebody saw me without my mask on, and I'm like, but I'm like, I don't know, 5 yards away from you. I'm not near anybody. I'm just trying to get some air and giving my ears, you know, a rest too, of having that thing on my ear all day. But for me at least, I think, you know, I'm definitely in a bed. Was that a toilet that flushed? Oh, I don't know. I heard something.
Just the cat.
Okay. All right, and it better not be here because I'm the only one here that I know of. But I don't know. We'll have to go on. I see. Oh, that's unfortunate, Ken, that you mentioned about the local Iron Maiden cover band where the guitarist passed away from COVID. But yeah, so at least here. So Drew, we were talking about, Camille had asked about how are things in our neck of the woods related to things. So Katarina was talking about having curfew still there, and they just had a national holiday, and so I just kind of mentioned mine stuff. But what about it? Where's New York at right now?
New York's kind of, you know, in its adapted COVID state. Everything that you want to do is outdoors, and that feels pretty good. You need to have vaccination card to get in really any restaurants, any theaters, anything like that. And I feel like we've adapted as much as possible at this point. Definitely like lockdown, or not lockdown, but it felt a lot more lockdown, like as Delta rose here over the summer. And I think, you know, for me and a lot of my friends, it went from like, maybe we'll hang out with 2 or 3 people inside to being like park hangs only. And that was kind of an unfortunate shift back. But as we go into winter, I mean, the numbers are like at 3% right now, I believe, as of a couple days ago. So, you know, I think it's like you said, it's like that constant assessment of risk, but it's certainly better than it has been in my experience of it in the last couple of months. So that's good. But it's like one day at a time, one decision at a time. It's definitely what it's been like for us as well. Sucks. Sucks a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing movies, and I've seen definitely music videos where things have been incorporated from the pandemic right into those things, and even literally with people wearing masks, or that they recorded it during that time. And it's going to be, I thought about this the other day. I was watching this documentary last night for the film festival. It's kind of like, so what are people going to be thinking like 20 years from now when they look back on this footage from 2020 and 2021? It's like, if they can't, like if they didn't live, like if they're younger, like if they were born like right now and they didn't necessarily live through this, are they going to, why were you guys doing that, or what was actually going on? It's just like what happened like with 9/11. If you weren't around then, you don't remember what that feeling was like really around the world of when things kind of came together. And I know for myself, I remember exactly where I was when that happened and what I was doing and what I felt. And I think this whole period of the pandemic is going to be something similar. That it's going to be like, yeah, if you weren't around, you probably have no idea what it was like to have everything shut down, and you're not really sure what's true, what's not, and everything keeps changing. And but it was something that's global, and that's, I think, where things got really, really interesting, because it wasn't stuck to the northwest of the U.S. It wasn't just the U.S. It wasn't just North America. It's like everywhere. And to me, in my lifetime, that's been probably the most unique thing ever that's happened, where it was like everyone had something that they could talk about related to this.
It's funny, my friends and I were just talking about the thing you were mentioning around like TV shows choosing to incorporate masks or not. And I guess I'd be curious for you guys, like, do you like when shows are doing that or movies doing that, or do you prefer it not to be that way?
It's a good question. I think I kind of come down on both sides. Like, I don't like to see it all the time, because sometimes I just want a break from that and like, let's just watch a story without having to deal with that. But other times it's interesting. I mean, it is reflective of the times, and it can work really well, and it is kind of scary. So, you know, it gives you that element of it. Generally, I think I don't want to see it too much, and I don't want to see too many Zoom movies. You know, maybe a couple, but not too many.
And Katarina, how about you?
What do I think about mask wearing?
Yeah, in media, yeah, TV and film.
Well, what I have seen a lot, at least here in Chile, in the local shows, is that they wear this transparent plastic mask so you can see their facial expressions and everything, and they keep a certain distance from each other. And when they have to sing, for example, or dance, well, when they're singing, they don't have any mask on, but they're all by themselves. So they have certain protocols, and they are not, the masks are not interfering with what they're trying to show or transmit. So as Drew was saying, it's all about adaptation.
Yeah, and I know for me, there was one film that I saw that I think it was actually called like Quarantine or something, like almost a year ago, and it was all shot remotely. So they're trying to incorporate all these different cameras and all this kind of footage. And at the time, it was kind of novel and kind of interesting to see how they got creative to make that work. But as time went on, I was like, it's kind of like what Camille was saying. For me, I see enough of this in my day-to-day life. I don't necessarily want to see it in my escapism stuff that I watch from film or television. I understand why they might be doing it, or if they're trying to make a point or something. But it's kind of like, if they need to do it, I understand that. So like, I know there's a local theater play that's coming up next week. And so like, I have to be masked up. I have to have my vax card and all that kind of thing. But they said all of the actors have also been vaxxed, but they won't be wearing masks. So it's like, that's probably what I want to see. Although in the back of my head, I might be thinking, oh, what if they're spreading things to each other and they're asymptomatic? And then, that whole kind of thing. So I was like, can I really truly relax and enjoy this or not? I don't know. That's why it's going to be kind of a weird, almost like a weird, unfortunate social experiment for me to kind of watch this play and see. So can I really, because it's supposed to be a comedy. So am I going to be laughing? Or am I going to be like, yeah, this is funny, but you just spit on that person. I just saw it leave your mouth and go over here.
I mean, I assume they must have some kind of testing going too, because I know when I work, obviously it's like we can't wear masks. We wear them in between takes, but not when we're shooting.
Yeah.
But we're all tested depending on the budget of the show. I worked on one where we were tested 3 times a week, so it was like pretty rigorous. And then on something with a little less money, it's maybe like once a week. And all the crew still has masks on, so it feels pretty safe. With those kind of protocols going, so I don't worry then too much, because you just can't, and you do get spit on. I mean, you do. So.
Yeah, hazard of the job.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, not to spend too much more time on the whole COVID thing, but I think all of us have experienced something at some point when you had a mask on and you had to sneeze or something happened and you're like trying to get that thing off of you. I had that happen in my old job where I could just feel it coming, and where I didn't get the mask off in time. So it was like, ugh, I gotta throw this thing away and get a brand new one, because there's no way I'm wearing that for the rest of my shift. But I'm kind of curious too, like Drew, you have obviously a film background, and you talked about, and we're getting to some of the food stuff. And then Camille's been doing film and television and all that for decades. Have any of you ever done anything music related? Since I'm looking at Caterina up there, like, have you done a music video? Have you been a part of one? Have you filmed one, or been on a set for one, or anything like that? Have these worlds ever come together?
Not for me.
Not for me. No. Yeah.
Maybe I'll be calling
the expert. Yeah. Not yet, right? Yeah, that's the key word.
Yeah, I'm game. If anybody wants me to do a music video, I'm game.
Awesome.
No, I am.
Okay, so the ball goes back into Caterina's court. So the next time she does like a single for a song, a music video, then she may get Drew to direct it, and Camille can be somebody in it somehow.
That'd be amazing.
I want a documentary, Caterina. Give me a call. We'll make that happen.
You know what? I've always wanted to do a video where I had to perform, as an actor, but I wouldn't know how to do it. Like, girls, I admire you so much because of that, that talent that comes from the heart to be an actor. I wish I had that, because it's so unique, and you are so you connect to people in such ways that you create emotions or bring emotions out, and people connect to that, and that is such a gift. And I would love to try to do it someday, in a music video. I don't know where it would go.
I'm sure it could. I'm sure you could, because singing, you're communicating that emotion and you're reaching out with communicating with the audience. It's really the same thing. I mean, except I can't sing, but if but the emotion part of it is, I'm sure you could do it. First time maybe you get like a coach or something just to like help walk you through some stuff. But there's no reason. You should definitely try it.
I really want to.
It's fun. You should. And you know what? If it's no good, if you don't like it, don't show it to anybody.
We'll see. We have to shoot a couple of videos, during this year. So we'll see what happens there.
I think you should try it. I think you could do it. I don't see why not. It's not as hard as this. It's not that hard.
Yeah. I can't imagine myself just crying whenever I want to cry, for example. Like that seems so hard, because I imagine actually connect with a real emotion, right? It's not just I'm gonna think about my dead pet and then cry. I don't know the mechanism behind it.
Yeah, well, it's more like some people do, and they'll use something from their past. I don't do that because it doesn't really work for me, but I do like it's the more intention you have as your character, like the more important the thing is you're trying to do, the more the emotion will come as a byproduct. So if you really just stay focused on what you want, what you're trying to accomplish, and the harder you try and the less you get it, the more natural you might cry or something like that, because your body reacts instinctively. It's just sort of an open more than anything.
But I imagine that is something that you actually have to train.
Yeah. I mean, certainly practice helps, because like the trickiest thing about it really is that it's easy. So it's like the more you try to do it, the more you try to cry, the less it's gonna come. So it's like with like the idea like excuse me, this might be terrible, and nothing might happen. And if you go in with that idea, then something usually happens.
Okay. Great.
So Camille, is that kind of that concept of like, basically you can't overthink it then? You have to kind of go in with what the character's supposed to be doing, what you want. But if you sit there and try to, at this point, I need to make sure that I cry at this point during the scene, it's like, well, no, then you just blew it basically.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like I'll do a lot of prep beforehand, just with the script, just sort of thinking it through and figuring out what my actions are and what does my character want. And maybe some emotional prep in terms of like, what is like, if I broke this scene down to one basic human need or circumstance, what would it be? And then when I go into shoot, then I let all that go and I just try to just accomplish the goal, like just do that and sort of forget everything else. It's there. Once you've figured it out, it exists within you without having to do anything, if that makes sense.
Katerina, I think your coach is right here.
Listening.
Yeah, and you could do it virtually. So like if you're getting ready to do a role in a Chaos Magic music video and you need some tips and pointers, you can reach out to this person right here, I think, based on what she just said.
Would you like that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Oh my God, thank you.
For sure. No, honestly, I would be happy to. Yeah, if you want to work out, I'm happy to. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No problem. I won't ask you to teach me to sing.
I can try.
Excuse me. Sorry, I have a frog. No, my husband says I'm tone deaf. I think
I've seen lots of people who say, no, I don't have a singing voice. But if they find the right coach and they have the time and the dedication, they can actually sing. I mean, they won't, I don't know, Mariah Carey or something, but they can in tune and, perform. So if you really want to do it, don't lose hope. You can do it.
I'd like to sing in something like you. I guess I'd like to try have a movie role where I get to do some kind of singing, where I just have to learn like one song, like one bit. Wow.
I've seen musicals, for example. Which one? Well, I think I've seen Johnny Depp singing, and he's not much of a singer, but it works. What he does in the it works. I saw the Les Miserables, and I think the only professional singer there was Catwoman. What's her name?
Oh,
Halle Berry?
from the other
Anne
one.
Hathaway.
Yes.
I think she's the only like professional singer there, but they were all so involved, and I think they had coaching and lessons and everything that it works out really, really well. So you can see that you can learn. It's like a discipline. You don't have to have like this amazing voice firsthand.
Right. Yeah, I think it. I'm sorry. I swear I'm healthy. I'm smoking too much weed. Not a thing I should advertise. It's legal here. The truth. Yeah, but I would like to learn to sing. Is the point of that?
I mean, I'm like pretty decent at karaoke, but like I don't want to brag or anything. So I think that's a very different skill set.
Which is your song?
You know, it really depends on my mood. I've been doing like right before the pandemic, I had a couple like very strong shallow performances where I was playing the Bradley character. Really, it was just kind of tapping into my cowboy. That was kind of my thing. But you know, can't go wrong with Queen either. But yeah. What about you?
I don't do karaoke. I did it once in Japan. No, I've done it once in Japan, and I was really, really bad. And the singers there, the people in the bar were really, really good. And so I was like, you know, I might try it again one time, but it's going to take like an enormous amount of alcohol to get me up there, I think.
It's funny. I did that. I did karaoke once in Japan too, and it was like a really positive vibe, and everybody was really supportive. So I was like, okay. And then I went up and I did Hey Ya. And they did not care for Hey Ya. Like it was not the right audience at all for the Outcast classic. So that was my memory. It's just like a bunch of people in Japan just staring at me being like, what are you doing? You could have done anything.
That's funny.
You got to choose right.
Sorry, you cut out a little bit. I missed that.
That you have to choose right.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
You know, audience.
Totally.
Yeah, that's true.
So am I the only one here that's never done karaoke then, it sounds like? I've never ever done it. And I started singing with my old duo back about 5 years ago, about 6 years ago now. And that was daunting enough, just singing in front of people. So I would be okay with it now. I think that I can, probably carry a tune and have some fun. But prior to that, like Camille said, I'd have to be like really loaded.
I think if you have a good singing voice, it's more pressure too. Like as someone who doesn't have a good singing voice, you just kind of can do it. But I feel like for someone like Caterina, I assume you go up and everybody's like, ready to go. So that must be more pressure.
In my office, we used to have like meetings, in karaoke places, like once a month, and they always called me like, hey, are you coming? And I'm like, no, I'm not. They all know that I'm a singer, and they are all going to be expecting for me to sing certain songs or whatever. I said no. I always refused, actually. Never once, not even once. Like happy hours, with the bosses and the managers and everything. And I was like, nope, I'm not going.
Boundaries are important. That's good.
Oh, that is interesting what Drew brought up. I never thought about that. If you're someone that's known for something, that would be like if there is the karaoke version of acting, and Camille had to show up and do a scene or something in front of people in a restaurant. Be like, no, I don't want to do that.
No, you have to pay for that kind of action.
Yeah, right.
Good. I'm gonna tell my boss the same thing next time.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, you want me in front of a mic? You got to pay up. And then I see Ken saying, you never did karaoke, but as Mark knows, I sang a little in high school. Yeah, so Ken was a singer in our band in high school. So I've known Ken since 6th grade. He's down in, Ken's in the general Houston area. There's another gentleman, Steve, who I thought was in Houston. And it turns out he's nowhere near Houston. I just got it stuck in my brain because my friend Ken lives in Houston, that Steve lives there too. I was like, no, Mark, I'm like 5 hours away from Houston. Okay. So we know what people do in terms of, we're talking about acting and filmmaking and music, but what's some things that people maybe don't know about you? What are your other interests that you like that just it could just be for fun or something that's maybe more than a hobby? What do you do outside of that? I'm curious.
Me, for example, well, I used to rescue cats before having a baby. Now I don't really have the time, so I try to help in other ways. But yeah, that was like a big part of my life, rescuing cats, because I really love them and I connect really well with them. And I love going to the gym. I lift weights, sorry. And I'm also a huge perfume enthusiast. Like I have a huge collection of perfumes and I'm a little bit obsessed.
When did the obsession become, when did that start with perfumes? I'm curious about that.
Oh, several years ago, like when I was a teenager. I have such a good sense of smell and, scents, they transport me. And it happens to a lot of people, like certain flowers or certain fruits, the scents they transport you to certain times of your life. And I just connect emotionally to scents, So it started a long time ago, but it definitely got worse during the pandemic. Like I had nowhere to go. You couldn't go anywhere, and all you could do was order online. So I would just read the notes, like if it has caramel, vanilla, rose, whatever, just buy.
Okay. And so does that mean that there's like your drawer just have like, I mean, your case or wherever, that do you have like what, 20 different scents then that you pick from, or you have more than that, or?
I'm afraid to say it. About 300.
Oh my God.
Wow.
How do you decide what to use on a given day? Just like your mood, or?
Yes,
like
definitely my mood. Yeah, you have like scents that are meant for winter, for summer, for spring, but I don't really care. It's according to my mood, really.
That's amazing. It just kind of begs the question, is there a scent that you've come across that you didn't like, either a combination of things that made it or something? Is there one like, oh yeah, I don't care for that one?
Well, there is one particular perfume that's called Tom Ford Black Orchid that I almost threw up. Yeah.
Wow, it just smelled bad?
It was awful.
Oh man. I hope Tom Ford isn't listening to this.
It's so and it has tons of fans, but I just couldn't handle it. It really smells like the cage of the monkeys at the zoo.
Wow. Brutal. I love that. That's so interesting.
I have to go smell it. I'm gonna have to go to the store.
I know.
Yeah, but I don't want to buy it.
Yes.
But you would think that the company, whoever does the testing and stuff would kind of notice that this thing doesn't smell right. But obviously,
lots of niche experimental perfumeries too. But that's a whole different universe.
That also, so this
perfumery. Can I ask? What is it? What does that mean?
Niche perfumery. There are companies that are only involved in making perfumes. Like it's not designer perfumes that they do. Clothes, accessories, and perfume. They just do perfumes, and most of them they use very natural and I would say exclusive prime materials. So that's why they create a name for themselves.
Right.
Okay, and Katarina, does this mean that you have your own scent coming out, like a chaos magic scent? I mean, it makes sense.
I have thought about it so hard, and I would really love to do that just for fun. And I think I will. I've been dreaming about it. actually.
Okay, no, it makes sense because I know there's one of the artists that I've interviewed. She's got cosmetic line now, and stuff that she's done independently because she's really about pets and animal welfare and everything else. So she's been real particular about how they're made. But yeah, you can go to like her website and there's the store and there's all these things that she has. So it's not far fetched at all, especially with your background having 300 different ones, to pick from. I would think you'd be able to create your own art. That actually might be really it might be aggravating too, that you're like, you can't get it quite the way that you want it because you're so particular about what you want it to be for you.
Well, you have to, as in music, if you get to do something like that, you have to know your audience too, and you have to make your homework and investigate and see what the market is actually looking for.
Very good point. Shows you how I'm not a businessman.
I'm not either, but if you're going to do something like that, you have to do your homework. Otherwise, you can, just make a cent for yourself. There's companies that do that, but if you're going to present it to other people, you have to take that in mind.
Yep, very good point. Very good point. Drew or Camille, what are some things that what are some of your other interests here?
Let's see, some hobbies. Well, I'm a huge basketball nerd, huge NBA basketball nerd. I'm from Philadelphia, and so Philadelphia 76ers are a passion of mine, and I have a lot to say about that, but I won't bore you all with that. And then let's see, I've gotten really into pickling recently and curing. I just did some cured lemons this morning for the first time, so in 3 weeks we'll see how that goes. But I really like that process, something about fermentation. I've kind of been researching it for maybe like an experimental documentary in the future too. I think there's like a lot there, but it's like something I've been getting into. And then during the pandemic, my partner, who you've seen walking around here, and I started fostering dogs. That was our big kind of pandemic thing we've been doing. And so my partner's in law school, so we don't have like endless free time. So we've been doing temporary fostering. So we're like the fun aunties that the fosters send for like a weekend or a week when they travel. So we have lots of cute but often troubled dogs kind of coming in and out, and that's been a really interesting and intense experience. Yeah, the fostering is very serious. You said you were rescuing cats, so you might know what I mean, but yeah, it's been a big learning curve.
So happy for you.
It's really fun. It's really special. And yeah, sometimes they're really adorable and you don't want them to leave, and sometimes you're so happy to have fed them and then you say like, bye, and I think that's kind of the scale that I've had. I don't know. But yeah, it's been really cool. And I want to plug Second Chance Rescue in New York. If anyone's in the area, they're an awesome org that we work donating to and checking out.
So, Drew, is that how you kind of get you and your partner get your dog fix, or do you have your own dog and then you also foster temporarily too?
Don't have my own dog. No. It's funny. I thought maybe I did, but the fostering has been perfect for me. I think I realized that I'm not quite ready yet to have that kind of. I think it's when you leave, that feeling of letting the dog down every time you leave was much more of like an emotional experience than I was expecting. And I was just like, I don't know if I'm ready to always have that kind of that beautiful creature like depending on me in that way. So fostering's been like a perfect kind of way to get to interact with dogs and save dogs, but not adopt.
Okay, and you mentioned pickling. Was it a lemon you just did this morning?
Yeah, preserved lemon is what I'm trying, which I've heard is a really tasty condiment, but I've not tried yet. But yeah, it's like a 3-week process. Really simple though. You just cut lemons up, add salt, put it in a jar. That was it. Yeah. And
then you eat that by itself, or you put it with something, or what do you? I can't get my head wrapped around a lemon like that.
It's like a condiment, yeah. So you chop it up. Basically, the rind is what you're pickling, and then it's like often used in like Moroccan dishes, some other dishes. But I've had it with like roast chicken. It's good, other folks. So yeah, it's just like a lemony, citrusy, tasty. Am I describing it well? Have you guys had this before? I don't know. It's just like a delicious lemony, salty thing.
Okay.
You don't seem convinced, but that's okay. I'll let you know in 3 weeks.
No, it sounds interesting to me. I'm not a foodie whatsoever. I used to watch Food Network all the time, but that's about the extent of my food background. But so it also brings up something, because you have filmed, as we talked about earlier, a lot of things related to food, and you just mentioned the pickling that you're doing now. Do you like to experiment with food yourself? Like, do you like to cook? Are you and your partner cooking all the time, or is this something that you like to do just you know, from afar?
Oh no, I love cooking. I love cooking. I do find maybe it's like a New York thing because my apartment in the summer is just horrible, even with the window unit. But like I'm much more of a like fall, winter, spring cook, and the summer is just kind of like goes to shit. But I'm definitely like getting back on it. I just kind of like started getting myself oriented for the fall, and yeah, I try to do lots of cooking. I like to. My problem is that I don't love eating the same thing twice. I'm not great with leftovers, which is not a useful skill. So I'm going to work on that. But I'm always trying to like cook new things every day.
I see. Okay, that's cool. Of the food people, or I don't know if it's food people, but it could be like, I don't know, restaurants or eateries. What's one of your go-to places there?
I live in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. My favorite restaurant is Mayfield, which is this awesome, like kind of like local pub vibe, like a little elevated that I've just like always been a huge fan of. I've been in the neighborhood like 9 years, and it's like my go-to. I love kind of like a French pub casual vibe. So they have like oysters, they have steak tartare, they have really tasty salads. It's kind of like my favorite. Maybe it's like New American might be the best way to describe it, but yeah, that's my favorite spot. And yeah, always trying to find new things here. It's like during the pandemic, it was like very much, you know, what was in a few blocks radius. So I really got used to those spots, and I've been trying to extend my radius more and more now. But,
yeah. Okay, cool. And Camille?
So I do some painting. I do some oil painting for fun, mostly portraits of people. I've done a couple of my niece because she's very expressive. And my cat passed away during the pandemic, so I did one with my cat. And now we got, actually both my cats passed away during the pandemic. Now we have new cats, new to us. They're both 10 years old, Siamese cats, and they're so weird. Like, we found them at a rescue. They'd had one owner for their whole life, and then I guess she passed away. And they're so weird. Like, I don't know, you know, when you get used to like a new animal, they're so different. And the boy is a terror, and at nighttime it's like he does this thing with his mouth where he like opens it and then does like the little kisses and like kind of chews my arm like a corn cob. And I'm trying to get him out of it because it's really sweet, it's really cute, but then eventually when I ignore him, it turns into a bite, turns into a little like wake up. So I'm trying to train him out of that. They're both really weird but really sweet and great. So I spend a lot of time with them. I also like to work out, and I don't know, what do I do? I feel like I should do more. I was doing some writing, and I'm always encouraging. Sometimes I mentor younger actresses, and I'm always encouraging them, like, you know, what can you do? You can write your own thing, direct your own thing, make your own thing. And I see them starting to do it, and I'm so happy for them. But then I also look at myself, and I'm like, I should be doing something. Instead of just telling you to do it and then just like wasting the day playing video games or something. So I'm going to try to, I have a short film that I'm going to try to within the next 6 to 8 months, I'm going to try to make that short film. That's my plan.
Okay, it's always interesting when, you know, you said that you've been working with other young actresses about, hey, you should try writing something for yourself, and seeing them do it, then you're kind of, it's like a really interesting reminder to yourself of like, oh shit, I guess I should probably take my own advice and kind of.
Yeah, I was definitely feeling that. I should be taking my own advice because it's the best way to, well, it's like, one, you're in charge of what you're making, you're in control of it, and so it's really satisfying, I imagine. And then also, like, when you don't, when you're trying to get out there and seen, it seems like such a helpful way. The auditioning process is very, you know, especially when you're starting. I mean, you're not going to make any huge breakthroughs playing cop number one. You know what I mean? So it's nice if you can have something actually show what you can do and express yourself in a real artistic way, and in a way that's satisfying as an actor as well. So yeah, I mean, I get the chance to do movies, so I'm not as motivated, but I should get motivated, honestly. So I'm going to do it. That's my promise to myself.
Okay, no, that sounds good. I mean, I think I used this example before from one of the live streams I had. I was talking with some guests from South Africa, and they're saying that they really want people to try something new. Didn't matter how small or how large, just, you know, try something new and see what happens. And I kept saying, yeah, but I would make excuses saying, well, I'm, you know, reviewing this, I'm covering that, and I'm a musician, I do all this stuff already. So I don't really need to try something new. And I thought about it. I was like, well, no, that's a cop-out. I need to try something new too. That maybe pushes me out of my comfort zone. And that was the painting stuff that I started, because I've never considered myself a painter at all. I'm the person that when we used to play Pictionary, nobody wanted me on their team because I was so bad. But so, yeah, it's that whole, proof in the pudding, walk the walk, talk the talk kind of stuff. So I was like, yeah. And granted, I'm looking at them right now. I haven't done one in a few months now, but all the materials is right there. So I can, as soon as I feel inspired, which is kind of nice that I can just do it when I feel inspired instead of being forced to, like with reviews and interviews and all that kind of stuff. It's like, well, no, you have to learn how to kind of turn it on. But with the painting, I can do it wherever I feel like it. And yeah, I think it's always good when you learn something new. And even if you learn that, this isn't for me, at least you learned it by doing it.
Yeah, painting's a nice pastime too, because it's just, well, like when I do it, at least it's just for me. So I don't really share them with anybody. I kind of just do it and then put it away. Or if I really like it, I'll put it up. But mostly they just go in the closet. And that's fine for me, because everything else I do is always like for everyone else. So this is nice to just have an artistic thing that I keep for myself.
Yeah, and that brings up an interesting point for Caterina and Drew too. Do you do anything like Caterina? Do you have a song or a demo or something that is so personal to you that you just want to kind of keep it, to yourself? Or Drew, have you worked on something that you don't really want to share it out to the world? It's just something for you.
Probably I haven't written about motherhood because of that. Because I like to keep it like for us both. It's such a change in your life, and it brings so many emotions, and at the same time you exist for another person for the first time. So it's a lot going on, and I thought about writing about it, and I have preferred not to, just because him and I, we have a world of our own.
And that makes perfect sense too. That that's your personal life. That's your relationship. And it's like, I share all these other things. I don't need to share that. That's something for me, for us, for you, for your family.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Drew, is there anything that comes to mind of yourself that you've kind of like tucked it away, and it's just like, well, that's just kind of my thing, my personal thing?
I would say not so much yet in terms of my career. It's interesting. I feel like documentary can be such like a personal medium if you choose it to be, and that hasn't really been the style of films that I've done so far. But I think it's something that I'd be interested in like evolving into later in my career. So we'll see. But yeah, not yet. But I haven't felt that urge to bring a lot of like personal experience to my work as of yet, beyond like my perspective on the world, which is part of everything.
Can I ask a question? How do you decide what subject matter you're going to do your documentary on?
Up to this point, it's been interesting. I mean, the one feature I've done was like a 5-year journey. And so having just finished that, I think kind of that question is very much on top of mind now as I'm kind of thinking about what the next thing I want to direct is. So I think that's still very much evolving. So far, it's been really just like opportunity and collaborations. Basically, the film I came into came out of a partnership with myself and my co-director, Jake, who I mentioned. And him and I had both gotten a fellowship where we were doing short documentaries together. And so during that period, like our collaboration grew, and we knew we wanted to tell more stories that, were about social justice, in particular about mass incarceration in America. And so we were researching, and Jake found the topic of Fireboys. And so it was kind of almost accidental in how we came across it, which I think is how a lot of great art sort of starts, is that you stumble into something and then you can't stop thinking about it. And that is, 5 years later, how it ends up getting made, especially for indie docs, but and indie film in general, I imagine. So yeah, I would say it's been born out of like a passion that I had for social justice storytelling, particularly like from the point of view of individuals, not like institutions. And then like from that, it really just kind of like has grown and specified.
Cool.
Drew, I'm just kind of curious, how would you feel if someone made a documentary about you and they're filming you for months on end? Since you've been on the other side of that, doing that with people, how would you feel if there's a crew following you around there all over the place?
Oh man, my first instinct is like, no. But then the more I think about it, because then I guess I wouldn't want other people to say that if I approached them, right? So I think it's just about like that building trust. Like if I think it was someone I really trusted and admired, or like a filmmaker that I knew, or they had a really interesting angle on my life that I can't think of in the second, maybe. But you know, it's funny, like once you really see the sausage making of editing, I think it makes sort of any sort of on-air vulnerability feel kind of hard. But I'm a little shy also, so like in terms of that way, so maybe I'm not the best example, but yeah, it feels really scary. Would you let someone just make a doc about you right now?
Oh, good grief. You know what? At this point in my life, I'd be okay with it. I think, and I'm not tooting my horn by any stretch of the imagination, but I think there's enough there to keep them interested with what I'm up to, day, night, and all that kind of stuff. But I think, like anyone, I do have my moments where I'd be like, turn that fucking thing off. I mean, get out of here. I don't want that camera in my face right now. And sometimes it needs to be there because that's when some of the good stuff comes out. I think, you know, I don't know how many. I know, again, you're filming in different chunks of time for, you know, over 5 years or what have you for Fireboys. But so if someone said, Mark, we're going to follow you for the next couple of weeks and then take a couple of weeks off and then come back in a couple of weeks and see where you're at, then I'd probably, because I'm a pretty transparent person, so I think that's why I don't really have a problem with it now. If you'd asked me like 20 years ago, I would have said, no way, you couldn't pay me enough to have a camera intrude into my life. But now I'm like, so people know this, that I used to be I still am a photographer, but I used to work with models for about 10 years. And sometimes the models, this is before selfies and all this kind of stuff, the models would want to get a picture with me afterward, after the shoot was done. I'd always say no. I just didn't like being seen on camera, which is funny that now I'm doing all of this stuff, or I can't, in social media and everything else. But so yeah, I think at this point, I'm kind of like, yeah, you know, warts and all, take it for what it is. And then hopefully, but I think the thing that you said earlier, is really true, is that it comes down to trust. And then who is this creative team behind it that's going to be intruding in my life for possibly years? Because I also don't want them, you know, just filming all this stuff and then whatever that edited finished product looks like makes me look really slanted toward one way that I don't like, or something that's just like, that's not me at all. What did you guys do with all that really, you know, the artistic footage? Like if they don't cover anything that I do with live streams or covering shows, and they just do stuff like with my day job or my ethnic background or growing up in Seattle, I'd be like, well, that's part of me, but that's not where my passion is. And how did you miss that? But you know, at the end of the day, I'm not the filmmaker, so I don't know what narrative they'd want to do. But yeah, I don't know. What about Camille and Katerina? Would you feel okay having a film crew around you?
You know, maybe on tour that would be fun, or you know, just during the process of creating an album, but not on an everyday basis. Not at all.
Yeah, me too. I think the same. Like if it was like very limited to something like the process of making a film or something like that, but about my personal life, like in my home or like anything personal, it's a nightmare. Just because I'm quite private, which seems weird because I'm an actor, but that's, you know, that's all pretend. But of like my actual personal business, I like to keep pretty personal. And as well, like the trust thing is huge because people can, I mean, you know, you can edit it to be anything, basically.
Exactly. That's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, I was working on a movie where it was like we were shooting constantly with like 3 different cameras, and so it was just like just constant shooting. And it was improvised, so there was no rehearsal and there was very minimal stuff. And I woke up one night, I had a dream, and I woke up that the director was over me in bed, like, and I'm like, no, not now, I'm naked. Just burned.
Horrible anxiety dream. Oh man.
Oh my gosh. Well, that I guess you don't want to ever get to that point where you're starting to get a little paranoid about the camera being around you. And I'm kind of curious, you know, Drew, with perhaps with Fireboys, with the other things that you've done, how much do you take the time with? Obviously, you get to know the subject really well. I'm thinking of like Chewy in the case of Fireboys. You got to know, you and Jake got to know him very, very well. Do you ever sit there and was there a talk about, especially during the editing process at all with him of like, you know, this is what we want to do with the narrative of how we're going to show your storyline in this documentary? Was there ever a chance where you kind of ran it by him, or is it just kind of, no, we're just going to do this and he's going to trust it and just kind of hope for the best?
With Chewie and Alex, who are the two main guys in the film, one of them is entering the program, one of them is leaving. That's kind of the structure for the piece. It was more about production and like being super transparent with them around like what the storyline we want to capture is, especially for a film like this. It's very like fly on the wall, kind of like experiential, where our goal was to like follow their experience and hear their perspective. And that's really the full magnitude of the film. And so I think we were able to really clearly explain that. And then that was reflected very clearly in the edit. And so I think, you know, when they were able to see it and give us feedback, it felt good to them, which was the biggest load off of my back. That was obviously the biggest, you know, thing that was on my mind through all of post. But so yeah, I think for us, because of the style of the film, it was about being transparent and clear during production and being able to follow through in post. If we got to post and we were like, actually, it's going to be experimental, and it's going to be this, I think we would have had to reach out and talk to them. But luckily, it kind of like lined up the way we planned. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, we've been talking about it. You can edit things any which way you want, and when you're doing a documentary, I was always kind of curious about how much input perhaps the subjects get, and I'm sure it's different for every film depending on who's making it and that kind of thing. But maybe that's also why that your particular film happens to work so well, is because there was a lot of transparency with the crew that you're following around. For people that don't know what we're talking about Fireboys in terms of Drew's film that she did with Jake. And it's a documentary. Well, actually, you could explain it better than me. You want to give a real quick recap of what that film's about so people can check it out?
Oh, sure, yeah. So the film's called Fireboys again. You can rent it on iTunes, Amazon, lots of fun stuff. You can find it on our website, fireboysdoc.com. And yeah, Fireboys is like an experiential documentary about the only program in California where juvenile offenders with ages 18 to 25 apply to be transferred out of a lockdown facility into a camp environment where they are trained to be type 1 wildland firefighters and then immediately sent out on the line. So these are guys like literally on the front line of the biggest wildfire incidences across California. Like right now, a lot of the guys we know are on fires. So the film is about their experience. It's about the program, and it sort of explores the middle ground and the gray area this camp occupies between rehabilitation and prison labor exploitation. And so that's kind of the brief rundown. Yeah. But I also do want to say, Mark, I do think like it's different for our characters, I think, versus, I don't know if you've read anything about the new Alanis Morissette doc that is coming out, but there's been all this drama about it because apparently Alanis is not happy with it at all and says it's totally different. And reading that stuff made me so anxious because I really know that feeling from the filmmaker. And I'm so curious like what happened with that. But I do think like when you're working with like someone who is an icon versus, you know, trying to talk about the experiences of like everyday people and represent that accurately. Like I think the difference between egos and realism and all those things like really comes into play. So that comes up for me when you mentioned that.
Did that Alanis doc, did she work on it with them and then she didn't like it when it was finished?
What I read was she gave an interview, or like she was involved in some way enough that like she was interviewed extensively, but I guess she clearly wasn't a part of post-production because it seems like she was not happy with the direction. So I'm really curious to see it and just kind of learn more because I'm a big fan. So I was sorry to hear that she wasn't happy.
It's actually a great way to promote it for her to hate it.
Yeah, that's true. They couldn't have planned that better. That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah, is that what any press is good press?
Yeah,
that's what they say, right?
Talk about it, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. But that is a good point when you have a very well-known icon that, you know, making a documentary of that person can be very different than taking something that's more perhaps an issue or something that's you know, the common person and seeing what's going on there. Because like I mentioned to Drew and Jake during our one-on-one, I didn't know anything about this program. I didn't even know it existed. That and it's not. I think for people, again, I won't spoil it completely, but for what I was really impressed by was that these folks that are inmates that have been trained, they're not put off into like some little easy corner of a, you know, if there is an easy corner of fighting a fire, they're right there just like the ones that are from California Fire and everything else doing the exact same level of work. So that's what kind of surprised me. I thought they're going to be, okay, you guys do all the little easy pickup stuff and we'll do the real work because we're real. I said, no, they're right out there doing that stuff day in and day out and making, you know, pennies on the dollar kind of a thing for that work. So, and being up here in the Northwest, knock on wood, this summer we managed to escape a lot of the smoke and wildfire stuff from California, but the past 3-4 summers, man, it'd be like literally a blue day like today would be gray outside because of all the smoke that came up here, which I was not used to growing up here all my life. And I didn't realize, again, the folks that are down there fighting the fires, I always have a picture of a certain firefighter in a truck and, you know, all that kind of stuff. I didn't picture inmates out there that have been trained to do this kind of thing. So it's fascinating.
What was surprising to us too, it was just like, you know, no people in California, we traveled all over the state, like many people didn't even know it existed there, like in their backyard. I think that was one of the big reasons that we wanted to, you know, get the film done, get the film out there. And so this has been really interesting fire season to be spreading the word and having people come up to me after screenings being like, oh my God, we had a fire, you know, 10 minutes away and I had no idea that was the crew that was fighting it. And I think that's been really interesting to see those reactions, people who are processing in real time, like who it is saving their homes, their land, their lives, and like at what cost.
Okay, yeah. And Katerina, I'm just kind of curious, kind of switching subject a little bit. What's it been like trying to, you know, get the third album of Chaos Magic together? Has it been like this, like a similar process for album 1 and album 2, or has it been like a unique process because of the pandemic time, or what's going to be kind of different and unique about this upcoming album?
Well, it has a lot to do with my personal experience during this time, because not only I was going through a pandemic, but also through a kind of ugly divorce. So it's going to have a lot of that. And it's not obvious, like talking specifically about my relationship or anything like that, because as I was saying, I try to keep certain things private. But there's also this urge to just express and to have this cathartic process imprinted into your music. So that's kind of inevitable for me. I can't write about something I'm not connected to. So it's a very emotional album, and it's also very powerful. And there are certain songs that are very hopeful, and you almost wanna have to dance, even if it's metal. I stood by a very pop process, you know, of the creation. It's not a complex. I try to keep my melodies very catchy, very listenable, and that has a lot to do with pop music. So I've had people interview me before and they told me, what, pop? Are you sure? Like, are you correct about that? And yeah, I mean, if you analyze pop like in like a songwriting discipline, it's very simple. But what's complex is to keep the human mind connected to this simple melodies or simple lyrics or whatever. So it's a very it's a heavy art behind it, and I try to apply that to this record in particular because the music, the background, it's going to be more complex, and even more complex than the record before.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of complexity, a lot of like catchy, like you said, a lot of catchiness to it from the pop. I don't want to say influence, but you know, the structural things. And definitely anyone who's a musician out there knows that if you try to write a pop song, it's freaking hard to come up with something that catchy that actually sticks in your head like that. I've tried and I failed miserably. So
yeah, it's not only about repetition. Like it's a bit more complex than that. And it's about, you know, finding a spark that is going to appeal to the human mind.
Yeah, no, that's very well put. And do we know, like, is there a rough idea when it's coming out?
Not yet. I do have to deliver the masters by the end of October, but then it's up to the record company to set a date.
Okay, and then it's coming out through Frontiers?
Yes, Frontiers Records.
All right, cool. Something to look forward to from Caterina. And I'm also curious, I'm not well traveled at all. Like when Drew and Camille are talking about doing karaoke in different places, different countries. What is Chile like? Like if you had to describe to somebody like me who's never been to South America whatsoever, what's it like down there?
About karaoke?
No, just the country in general. I guess karaoke too. But
well, if we speak about the way people have fun, they listen to a lot of reggaeton. It's everywhere. It's at the gym. For me, it's awful. A lot of people love it. I do not like it at all. I don't like the lyrics. I don't like the way it's produced. But yes, that's very popular here. And, we love barbecues. People love drinking pisco. It's a national drink, spirit. And I would say that we are very close to each other. Like it's a very Latino thing to just be close to one another, and you become friends in 2 seconds, and you hug each other, and we're outspoken and outgoing. It's not really but it is in general here.
Okay, all right. I've interviewed a couple of people. There's one that was from Argentina and a few from Brazil. They all talked about the passion that they have as people culturally. Is that something that's also found in Chile?
It is. And one comment that I've heard a lot from foreign bands when they come here is that the audience is very passionate, and it's very, they scream and they just, they want to touch them. It's a very, very Latino thing, I think.
Okay, yeah, because I see Gilberto was with us here in the chat actually a while ago. Sorry, Gilberto. Hello, thank you for joining us from your home. But I'm also curious, Caterina, so when you were playing shows, and eventually you get to play shows live again, and we were talking about the passion of the South American fans, does it ever get to be too much? Has there ever been any kind of close call, like someone trying to like get into your personal space or something like that, where they just like they kind of walk over that line?
Not really. No, I have never had that experience. And there's a strange phenomena that I always talk about in interviews, is that at least in the metal rock scene, people are much more invested in seeing foreign bands than local bands. So that doesn't happen with local bands. As good as you can be. I mean, we have a lot better reception, for example, in Europe, when we've been touring outside, abroad. And we were expecting actually to have like a little bit colder, more controlled audience, so to speak. But it was the opposite that we were expecting, especially, for example, in places like Romania and Ukraine. And the audience is absolutely amazing. And that hasn't happened to us in Chile.
Interesting, and that's actually kind of, you kind of rang a bell for me. I think we talked about that in your interview about how for local bands there, it's like, we can't find our audience here, but we go abroad, it's like they're nuts. They go crazy for it.
We weren't expecting that. And you know what? In places like Argentina or Brazil, it's not like that. They like and they support their local bands.
Oh, interesting. So there's just something about the fans in Chile, for the most part, that just they like the foreign bands and they like all the other bands.
It's weird, and I keep on talking about it because I don't know why that happens. And it's not only with my band; it's with the whole circuit of bands this style. Because I wouldn't know how it is, with other styles, because I don't really listen to other Chilean bands that are, you know, too away from this particular style. So I wouldn't know.
Okay, all right. And Camille, kind of refresh my memory. Are you north of me, or where in Canada are you, just in general?
Yeah, I'm in Vancouver.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, yeah. It's sort of similar in Canada. Like the sort of the joke, and it's not really a joke; it's more reality. Is that to do well as an actor in Canada, you really need to do something in the States, and then once you've done that, then Canadians will accept you as having done something. Which is, you know, sucks because we do actually make good shows here. But it's tough to get a Canadian audience. It's changing. We're having some breakthrough shows, and I think that's starting to show people that Canada actually makes their own. We don't have the same money, you know, we don't have the same money to spend, but we do make interesting content, and I think Canadians are starting to see that. But it's a tough sell in Canada. It really is. Sometimes shows I've done will do better abroad as well.
Yeah, I think we were talking about how, like, I was a fan, or still am a fan of Kim's Convenience from Canada. And then you've got, of course, you've got Simu Liu in Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, in the Marvel film that's, you know, doing big money and all that kind of thing.
Right.
But his claim to fame was playing Zheng.
Yeah, and that was a breakthrough show for Canada. That really did well. Like that was really a success story for him.
Well, and I guess it's kind of true to what you just said, because the only reason I knew about the TV show was that the play, which is what started first of Kim's Convenience, they were doing a production for the first time on the west coast of the United States, starting here in Seattle. So I'm like, well, I didn't know what this was. So I looked it up and said, hell, there's some kind of TV show about this. So I started watching episodes. Oh, this is really funny. This is really, really good. But I didn't know that it was originally Canadian, or that, you know, again, it started with the play, and then it had what they did 5 seasons of the TV show and all that kind of thing. And weird little fun fact for anybody else that likes Kim's Convenience, the actor that plays Jimmy on that show, who has a real small recurring part, he played Appa in the play that I saw. So I got to interview him. And yeah, and he was super nice and kind. And he was like, well, comparatively, I don't look physically anything like Sung Yil, who plays Appa on the TV show. But it's just interesting that I started putting it together. When I saw him, I was like, wait a minute, he looks like the guy that plays the kind of the sexist character on the TV show. And sure enough, it was him. And yeah, just kind of weird little worlds, how those things come together like that. But how is life up in Vancouver? I haven't been up there in years.
It's great. I love Vancouver. I love being here, and we've had a pretty easy. We had the smoke too. Like last summer, we had the smoke come from the wildfires, and it was like the sun was red. You know what I mean? The sky was dark and the sun was bright red. It really was pretty disturbing. And then this year, even I was filming in Winnipeg, and we were getting their wildfire smoke from I think it was coming from Ontario or maybe eastern states. I'm not sure, but it's like from a long ways off. It can really be overwhelming. But no, I mean, Vancouver's great. Vancouver's plugging along. I don't know. I love it here.
When the last time I was in Vancouver, if my memory doesn't fail me, was at the turn of the millennium, so 99 into 2000. And Kiss was playing up there at the big stadium. And so I still remember my brother, my sister-in-law, my good friend Adam, and myself. We were all in the same car, and then my other friend Steve, for whatever reason, didn't want to ride with us, even though there was room. He drove himself up there, and we got there like at 2 p.m, pulled into the front of the hotel, and there's this guy outside screaming at the top of his lungs a Judas Priest song. I mean, just and this was at 2 p.m. We're like, oh my God, what's it going to be like tonight? And it just got better / worse. I was definitely, I had way too much to drink at that show. I remember I was cussing at the video screen that they were showing before Kiss came on, because there's an era of that band that I don't like. And people were kind of giving me like a wide berth. They were kind of getting a wide so it's amazing that I actually remember anything of that show. But it was a really good time when we were up there, and meeting people from, I remember from Australia, Japan, all over from the U.S. traveled up for that show because it's like, Europe, for the most part, you're only going to live to see one millennium change in your lifetime, and so why not do it with Kiss? So well, we did that. That was also when the whole Y2K thing was hanging over people's heads. Like, what's going to happen when it actually becomes January 1st? Are we going to lose all power and all the computers are going to die and all that craziness? And I remember I don't know how this was going to help me, but I had like a little pocket flashlight on me just in case. I'm like, yeah, on my keychain, like, okay, well, I'm safe. I have a flashlight. Oh my God, some of the silly, stupid things I've done over my life. But that was a fun show. It was definitely a fun show. And kind of staying on that topic before we kind of wrap this up, what are some of the music genres that everyone here on this group here, this fun table, like? What are you into, and also like maybe what are you not into?
I think that's pretty obvious for me. I like a lot of rock and a lot of metal. I like also things, for example, like Lorena McKinnon, like Celtic, Scottish traditional music. It's so beautiful, so wonderful. And of course, I don't like reggaeton at all. And I don't like cumbia. I don't really like those Latino things, although maybe I should. I don't know. I'm a weirdo. I don't dance. I don't drink. I have fun in other things, I guess. But most of my friends find me terribly boring. So that's what you get. I can't do more than that.
All right. Well, no, you have to be yourself, and if they want to know about perfumes, then you're the person to talk to. So
hours about it.
And Camille and Drew, what kind of gets you going music-wise, and what doesn't get you going?
I like sort of a little bit of everything. I like blues. I like sort of getting, I guess if you call Tom Waits folk, that kind of realm. I also like harder stuff. My husband, for a long time before I knew him, played punk rock, and so he's got me into listening to punk rock quite a bit. And so I like that too. Sort of it's based on my mood. I do like to dance, so I do like to play it loud and dance, and I like to do that in my trailer when I'm working. So it's a good way to sort of blow off some steam. So I like anything I can really dance to, and I also like sad stuff. I also like sad songs that make you cry.
Okay, well, yeah, that's an eclectic mix, and I think it's true of everybody. A lot of times it's always based on your mood, what I feel like today, and that's what you kind of go to. I'm definitely the same way. It's a really nice day today, so I want to play this kind of upbeat music, and it might be I might be in a really bad mood, so I want to play something really aggressive and kind of get that out of me. So it might be some metal-based things or punk for sure, or Cancer Slug, these guys. And Drew, what about you?
Well, I have to admit that I do listen to reggaeton when I work out, so we might not have that in common, but that's totally cool. And no, I mean, I like, grunge, riot girl kind of stuff is, always a favorite. Kind of like 90s boom bap, like hip hop kind of vibe I like a lot. And I've been really into jazz recently. And in particular, I don't know how I came across it, but Ethiopian jazz is just like a particular vibe that I've been really into. It's like one of those things I came across on Spotify, and that's like been my thing. It's like really fun, kind of like cooking, driving music. So I recommend that.
Yeah. How does Ethiopian jazz differ from, say, American jazz?
I wish I had like a proper answer to that. I think it's mostly just in the artist and like in the vibe itself. But for whatever reason, it like the tempo and like the sort of various instruments, I guess, are unique to it. But I've just really liked that playlist. So it's been my it's top of mind right now, randomly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'll have to look into that. I've never heard of that that term for a type of a jazz from a certain country. Ethiopian jazz. I'm gonna write this down.
Let me know what you think. I find it very soothing. It's like my sitting in traffic music, which I really need. So yeah, personally.
Okay, yeah, I'm slowly coming and catching up with everyone in the world where they listen to stuff like through Spotify or other streaming services. I'm such a dinosaur. I'm still a CD collector and a physical media collector of things, but I found myself with my phone, especially if I'm listening to something from Bandcamp or what have you, and just listening to it from there. I'm like, hey, I'm actually catching up with everybody. And then, well, Mark, do you have a playlist? Well, no, I don't have a playlist. You know, my day, the playlist was a mixtape. That's what those were. Very cool. So if everybody, for as we kind of wrap this up, and I just mentioned that a couple minutes ago, is there anything you'd like, we're just kind of round robin this, that you'd like to let people know? And maybe you already mentioned it before at the beginning, but we want to let everybody know again, like what to check out, what you got coming up. It could be somebody else's thing that you think is really cool. You want to turn everybody else on to. It doesn't matter, you know, any kind of media. We'll just kind of go from there and let everybody kind of carry on with their day, and we'll go the other way. So let's start with Drew, and then we'll go to Camille and go up to Caterina.
Yeah, I mean, to plug for me, like I said, check out Fireboys, fireboysdoc.com, and check out this new doc I'm producing called What Will I Become? Really interesting piece of queer art. So love people to check that out. Also on Instagram. And yeah, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I cook, I have dogs. I don't know. You could follow me. It's my name, Drew Dickler. But yeah, that's what I got. Thanks again for having me, Mark.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for joining me. It's really great to get to know you better, and I'll definitely be looking forward to, you know, the new work that you have. And again, I'm a big supporter of Fireboys. That was a really fascinating documentary, so I highly recommend it to people out there. And I'm not just blowing smoke, no pun intended, because Drew's here. It really is an interesting documentary. Move over to Camille.
Well, Hunter, for anybody who hasn't seen it, which is lots of people, although lots of people have too. So Hunter, you can stream it. It's on Hulu. It's on Netflix in Canada. It's on Prime. It's not. I don't think it's hard to find. And then it's a very good movie. Also, it's very good. It was very well reviewed. I'm immensely proud of it. And also Harlan Manor coming up on Tubi Halloween.
Very cool. And again, and Camille and I know this because we talked about this. Hunter is one of those films, without giving it away, when you see, like, and I showed a real small clip of it at the beginning of this fun table session, that you think it's one thing, and then by the end of it, it's something else. It's one of those kind of films, and that's what I loved. And I did not see it coming at all. I mean, so usually I can kind of get a feeling in my gut, like something's kind of like going to turn a corner here. There's going to be a surprise or whatever. And I did not see at all. So, and it's really entertaining if you love thriller, maybe a little bit of horror mixed in there as well. And also, yeah, Kingsway, the drama that I also showed us a clip.
Yes, Kingsway also. It's a great movie. It's a dark comedy about suicide. So very dark, but very funny as well.
Yeah, definitely some dark humor. And I even like that part of that clip when your character's in the bar, that guy is saying, "Is anybody sitting here? Not you."
The best thing about my character, she's such a jerk. She's such an asshole through most of the movie. So it's really fun.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a change of pace from Hunter x Hunter for me, seeing that, but they're equally good. So yeah. Everybody can check those out tonight. It's, you know, on your Saturday night, and we'll go up to Caterina.
Well, as I was saying, Chaos Magic's third album is coming, probably next year. But if you want to follow us, you can follow me on Instagram, Katarina Nix Official, on Facebook, Katarina Nix and Chaos Magic, and also working on Summerwind. We are going to play live probably in November. It's going to be streaming also, so that's going to be a good feeling. And girls, Drew, Camille, if you need music for your projects, let me know. I'll be happy to participate.
For sure. That's awesome.
There you go. And yeah, as we found out earlier, that Caterina and Camille might be helping each other out from a scene standpoint or from an acting standpoint.
And send me an email like when you're ready, and we'll do a Zoom and like chat it out.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Yeah, and then maybe down the road we'll find Drew making a music video or documenting Chaos Magic on the road or something. I mean, or first visit to the U.S. when you tour here eventually. I mean, who knows? So it's always great when artistic people can kind of come together and find ways to connect with each other. But Caterina, Camille, Drew, thank you so much for taking the time. Anyone that's watching this right now that joined us in the chat, anyone watching it down the road, thank you for that as well. My device did not fail me, which I'm very happy about. As most people kind of know, since about the end of May, I would get dumped from my streams. I'd be like listening intently to the guests, and then all of a sudden I would be gone. I'm like, what the hell just happened? So this has not failed me. I wish all of you very much success with all of your projects. And again, you can go to the YouTube description to connect with all of the guests here. And then go to everything that they just mentioned that they have coming up from music, film, and everything else. And in my case, again, my next live stream is supposed to be on Thursday night at 7 p.m. and there might be one on Wednesday, but we'll kind of see. And then the next Fun Table session will be in October. Last year we did a Halloween themed one, of course, and so most of us, I think almost all of us, were dressed up in something. So I don't know if we're going to do that again. I already have 3 guests that want to do it, but as I know, schedules change and feelings change, and I totally understand that kind of thing. So we'll see what happens. But we had like 4 or 5 people last year that did it, so we'll see what happens this year with all of that. But again, thank you so much for taking the time, and Caterina, Camille, and Drew. Stay safe where you're at, and hopefully we can connect somewhere down the road. So anytime you have something that you want to come on and talk, promote, or if you want to be another part of a Fun Table session, you know how to find me, and also I know how to find you. So we'll go from there. All right, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you all.
Great to meet you guys.
Yeah.